Hello and welcome to another demonstration. I'm a little bit excited about this one because I'm going to be using a glass dip pen. Look how beautiful this is. It feels lovely in the hand and it's really interesting but lovely to work with. So I do use a fountain pen, usually with a cartridge in. I've used traditional dip pens in the past, but this is just something special. Just looking at it, it feels lovely, it looks lovely, and you think of the craftsmanship that's gone into that. So I've tried different inks with it. Some of them were a little too thick. This is Ecoline watercolour ink, which for me I found works really well. You can water down some of the thicker drawing inks, or Quink ink works really nicely because it's suitable for a fountain pen. You just need to be able to have the ink flow nicely down these grooves. So I did try a few. Sometimes they were a bit stuttery. This is the best black that I've found. But just try others and maybe need to water them down. So it's just exciting just to dip. You can see how it loads up. Okay. And you'll be surprised how much ink you've got in all these grooves. So for my fourth Inktober demonstration, I'm going to be doing a little sketch of a woodland scene. So I'm going to start and just draw out this first tree. Oops, it's fine. Then there's another one that bends over like that. Thinner. Great thing about tree trunks is you don't have to have a steady hand or a straight line. A little bit of a tree behind, and there's a curve in this one that goes up like that, and there's another. I might miss one or two trunks, it doesn't matter. I'll start with that to start with. So you can see I've not yet reloaded, so even the process of dipping into the ink is very satisfying. Just grounding the trees. Then I'm looking at some of the detail. I tend to work quite fast. And there are different leaf shapes, which there's a canopy kind of leaf here, and then all the much smaller leaves at ground level. So it's just a case of using different marks to bring these out. These darker branches are kind of, you can see through the canopy. I'm putting them down first in order to remind me they're there, but once they're down I can work around them. So I'm just doing these, I'm not sure what tree it is, I can't see, but the leaves are similar shape to this, so I'm not going to possibly even take my pen off. I'll make marks. Some of the leaves will be a more recognisable shape, others maybe not. I'm just looking at this canopy shape. And this is different to this much more dense foliage. Let's make this dark. Just move the pen around. If I can hold it in different directions, let's run out there. So hold it very upright, I'll get a bigger rush of ink. And then quite lightly. On each side. Over that darker tree, you can see how it will still be visible, but not prominent. Darker here. I do need varying depths. I don't want it all solid dark in the background. So I tend to leave gaps and then I can fill in darker areas and lighter areas. All I'm doing is just using this very scribbly mark. Let's bring out this tree. So I want to push this tree forward a bit more. These need to be darker. Right, let's put some lines on the tree, and I'm doing it in kind of a curved line. Bit of cross hatching, so this is the darker side. So I'll just bring out if I think the ink's going to be quite dark after I've just dipped it in, I will tend to put it into the darker area. I also found twisting the pen as well helps to allow for the ink to flow down. So it's going to be quite dark. Let's just put this where I know I want some much darker leaves, and then got some much darker marks. There's a balance between putting too much detail on and not enough. So what I can do is push this back even darker. So I think I'm going to put another tree in, only because that's quite a big space to fill. They have kind of bunches of leaves. It's quite satisfying just filling in and building up the leaves using different marks. might put what I've done is I've looked at the shape of the leaf and I'm just using a suggested shape with my marks. So the tree goes up here. Let's bring that through the leaves. Again, there's some more. Leaves above. I think there are also some darker branches going higher. Bring up another tree as well. So I'm using the original as a reference, but it doesn't mean I have to be completely slavish to it. The reason being is I'm looking for balance, I'm looking for areas which work or don't work. And this is what you do as an artist, you choose what you leave in and what you take out. They're quite dense at the bottom here. Dip. Hopefully that's showing some different variations in depth and density. These leaves are all quite small and very similar, so I can use the same mark to build this up. If I had time, I possibly would look a little bit closer, but I want to show you how quickly you can build up a composition using a photograph as a guide, as a reference. Like I say, you don't have to put everything in. I think that tree's a bit too thick, so let's narrow it down. It's going to be dark because it's behind. Using lines both horizontally and vertically. And in order to push that back, let's put some darker areas in this background. So the canopies are often very much darker at the base of the trees. Again, it's just You can vary the pressure you put on the pen, but you don't get overly different marks. It's just the way you hold the pen and you move the pen is how you vary the marks. Because the nib's solid, it's fixed, it's not. Putting pressure on it doesn't alter it like a nib dip pen, which is flexible. Right, let's start to again vary the density because it's all very samey. Let's push that in and up. Therefore it's not straight. It's not bad. Okay. So this tree can peek through here. Let's take it up again. There isn't as many leaves as we get higher, so I can have more gaps. Still this. Let's go around. So less marks. As the sky starts to come through, darken this because it is shaded by the leaves. Okay. Don't want to do much more that way. I want to just finish this way. Like I say, I'm not doing a large amount of detail. So I think here needs a little bit more. Let me take another tree there. And here I think. These are still quite white, I can go over that, but let me just. I think there's a nice dark trunk tree here, which I think got some interesting textures in. I think that kind of finishes that side. So just darken this off. Let's put the leaves in the background here. Hopefully that's kind of bringing these leaves forward, showing the tree trunks and showing different textures. Dot stash. Working pretty quickly. It doesn't have to be. Overly detailed. Darken there. Go around. shapes. Sometimes once you've put on some of the darker areas, you can then work your way around and see which areas either need darkening to push things forward or maybe need a little bit more detail. Dark at the bottom, let's bring it up. Let's bring that trunk out. So it is behind this one. Light marks just catch. Again, vertical and horizontal marks. It's much easier to darken afterwards, so you do some of the work, you then review, you go back in, you see what needs working on, which areas possibly need darkening. If you do it all at once, you possibly have gone in too strongly. I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap and maybe bring these branches, which I think of much smaller trees, in the background. So lower, stronger trees. Again, I think it's a bit thin, so let's strengthen that. Some more dark in between these. I've got this tree to think about. Dip in. Remembering to follow the trunk all the way up. Got some notches. Just really lightly sketch. So that means this can be pushed back a little bit more. Maybe this push back. Going to put reviewing, so moved over, moved back. Okay. Bring some of these down. I'm just looking at a balanced finish, so I know when I can finish, when it looks fairly balanced. It's a sketch, it's a quick sketch, so it doesn't overly matter, but it's good practice to look at things and see how they work. Okay, it's not bad. Let's see what's happening here. That's that dark one, so I can push him back. don't think that's overly unfinished, to be honest. So let's see if I can put just a few. Suggestions of some leaves, but showing sky through, and I think some of these may need a little bit more. So they're not quite as flat. Push that back a bit more. Go in and darken under here. Because the darker you make some areas, the light, it pushes the light areas forward. That tree needs to come down, needs to touch. It's not just floating. A little bit more. Let's do some grass-like marks to show that it's grounded. Don't like this bit here. It's not quite explaining itself, and that's pretty much finished, I think. I think you can see what looked like a lot of complex shapes. All you're doing is you're picking out bits you like, leaving bits out you don't, and just working with your light and shade. I think that's fine. Okay, so I can keep going. I'm just darkening that off, just because it needs to go back. That's it, done. So I hope you enjoyed that, using this fabulous glass dip pen. You can see how you can just use it to manipulate all the lines, and the process of dipping into the ink is part of creating this little sketch. So I hope you enjoyed that, and join me again soon.